All right, welcome back to the Montezuma Blitzball League. We've got Matthew versus Evan in the quarterfinal matchup. The winner of this goes and faces Adrian in the semis, and we'll get straight into the bat toss. You home? Yes. All right, Matthew will be taking the mound. All right, we got Matthew starting on the mound. We got Evan at the plate. Winner of this matchup goes and faces Adrian in the semifinals. Shout out Sammy Reeser for the banger jersey. 1-0 in there for the first strike of the at-bat. Matthew coming off a good season last year, looking to carry that into 2026. With a grounder up the middle. Matthew trying to get there, but it gets past the baselines for a single. All right, Evan's got a man at first. No outs. Good start for him, and he rips it. Foul. 0-1 to Evan. On its way. Swing and a miss from a nasty knuckleball from Matthew. This is the first time we're seeing Matthew after the off season. We'll see where he's at. If he's got any rust he needs to shake off. See if he can get through this matchup. 2-2, pitch, fouled off. All right, Evans worked it to a full count. Ball. That'll put a guy on first and second. All right, Evans got a guy on first and second. Getting off to a good start. Putting men on base with swing and a miss there. Good riser from Matthew. 0-1 to Evan. Swing and a miss at another riser. Matthew's getting ahead early in this count. All right, Matthew ahead here. 1-2 to Evan. Knuckle drop gets him for the first out of the inning. Tough one to foul off there for Evan. But all right, we got one out, going first and second. Pitch to Evan. Hit up. Matthew's making him. He will not be able to get there. 2-1 pitch. On its way. That's a screwball. Popped up again. Out of play. Matthew's doing a good job at staying under the limit. Pitch to Evan. Fouled off for the third time of the at-bat. 4-2 count. Men on first and second. Swing. Fouled off. We'll go to another 4-2 count. Rising slider. Fouled off. That's the fifth foul ball of the at-bat. All right, Evan, from being down early, has worked another count to full. Matthew goes with the riser, misses low. That will load the bases for Evan. All right, pitch from Matthew, riser, fouled up. 2-1 with bases loaded. Rising slider outside. 3-1. Goes to the rising slider for another strike. That'll be 3-2. 3-2. Rising slider again, fouled off. Nice contact there from Evan. 4-2. Swing, fouled off. All right, we got a full count. Bases loaded. Pitch, strike, grounded, past the baselines for a, that'll be a double. Evan will score 2 on that one. Swing and a miss from Evan. Good pitch by Matthew. Evan's down to his last 2 strikes. Knuckleball gets him. That's the second out of the inning. That was big for Matthew. Coming back after that hit from Evan. 2-0. Curveball misses. 3-0. Matthew needs to land some strikes here. And he does. Top left corner, curveball for strike 1. 3-1. In there for strike 2. Evan doesn't bite. Full count. Riser, swing and a miss. Matthew gets out of it with minimal damage. Evan leaves some guys on base, but not before he scores 2 runs. That's a big start for Evan. Let's see how he handles on the mound. All right, we got Evan on the bump after a successful inning, putting up 2 runs. We'll see though how he does against Matthew, former Silver Slugger, 14th in the rankings. Evan's got a lot on his plate here. All right, first pitch to Matthew Weaver. Goes with the curveball, hits bottom pipe for strike 1. 0-1, swing and a miss. Matthew's taking some daddy hacks at the plate. 0-2, Evan ahead early. Swinging a drive way past the fence. That'll get into the pond for a double. Sorry, that's a strike to Matthew. Matthew was fooled on that one. 3-1 on its way. Almost clips the outside corner. 4-1. Pitch from Evan. Swing. That's soft grounder. Evan will handle it with ease for the first out. First pitch of the at bat. That's in there for strike 1. Evan will be able to get strikes on Matthew, but it's hard to get 3 strikes as Matthew fouls one back. It's going to be hard to strike Matthew out. Very good hitter. Very good hand-eye coordination. Evan's got him down with a strike here, though. Swing. That's driven past the fence for another double. That will score a run. All right, 1-0. Swing and a miss. Matthew was taking a hack at that one. 1-1. Evan throwing a lot of strikes. 3-1. Goes with a curveball, lands it. Freezes Matthew. 2 strikes. Can Evan strike Matthew out? He does! That sits Matthew down. That'll be 2 outs in the inning. 2 down, guy on second. Hit high. That will get around the foul pole for a home run. Scoring 2. The score is now 3-0. It barely got around the foul pole for a 2-run homer. Strike 1. All right, Matthew, after taking the lead, in a 1-2 count, strike 3 on a nasty knuckleball. Evan gets out of it then, but not before Matthew puts up 3. Tres, if you're a Mexicano. We're in the top of the second. Score is 3-2. Got Matthew Weaver on the mound. Let's see if he can hold Evan. Oh yeah, he's locked. We'll see if he can hold Evan to a minimal amount of runs this inning. 3-2 is the score. Matthew's got the lead by 1. Pitch drilled foul. Evan got a hold of that one. Just didn't keep it in play. 0-1. Hit. That is short. Triple. It one-hops the fence. That will be a triple. That thing almost got out. Man on first, or third, actually. Hits him. Ooh, that one. You could hear that one from China. China. 5-0. The guy on third. That'll be a guy on first and third. Guy on first and third, no outs. Ball low. 2-0. 2-seam. Nasty movement on that for strike 1. 2-1 is your count. Hit. That goes foul. 3-2. Another one. Evan fouls it off to stay alive. Good piece by him. 4-2. Screwball misses. All right, Evan has worked the count full.
Oh my.
Way outside. Matthew was aiming at another blitz ball. Not the strike zone. All right, we got bases loaded. Evan with another chance to score runs. Swings aggressively for strike 1. He does have bases loaded though. Strike 2. It's a good riser. All right, here comes the knuckleball from Matthew. Swing and a miss. That was not a knuckleball. He fooled us. 2-2 with a hit. Knuckleball fouled off by Evan. That's the 3rd foul ball of the at-bat. Evans making Matthew throw a maximum amount of pitches. Hit. Popped up. Matthew will have a chance at it. He makes the play. That'll be the first out of the inning. All right, that's the first out of the inning. Knuckleball in there for strike 1. That was gross. Gross. 0-1. Another one in there for strike 2. I wouldn't eat that off my plate if I was starving. 0-2. Riser in there. 1-2. Knuckleball gets him. That was 4 knuckleballs in a row.
What?
Lock
came,
in.
it came out of my mouth before I could think. It was like 4 knuckleballs in the at bat is what I meant to say. Swing, hit. Matthew cannot get there. It won't have enough to get to the fence, so that'll be a single. Matthew lays out Superman. 3-0 for Matthew in there for strike 1. All right, Evan's got bases loaded. He needs more runs if he wants a chance at Matthew. That is strike 2. All right, Evan's down to his last strike in the inning. Matthew gets him to chase. That'll be strike 3. Evan leaving runners on base. Ties the game. He's not out of it yet. If he gets Matthew, if he holds Matthew to 0, we'll go to extras. All right, let's hope Evan has a big appetite here. He's got a lot on his plate. He's got to hold Matthew to 0 runs. Matthew, as he's known, is a great hitter, former Silver Slugger. It's going to be a big task, but we'll see if Evan has what it takes. All right, first pitch of the bottom of the second. Matthew needs 1 to win it. 1-0 to Matthew. Solo shot wins it. 2-0 is the count. Gyro hit deep. Will that have a shot? That will be gone. Matthew walks it off in 3 pitches. Solo shot. Beats Evan 4-3. It's a good matchup by these two. But Matthew ends up on top. All right, Matthew, you know, you've had a little bit of a off season, you know, haven't played blitzball in a while. What were you thinking after that first inning on the mound, after, you know, you had bases loaded, or he had bases loaded, you gave up 2 runs? How confident were you in yourself that you were going to be able to get the job done?
Yeah, I was confident. I mean, my hitting has always been one of the best in the league, so I wasn't too worried about it. But yeah, he just did a great job in the first inning. I wasn't able to locate as many off speeds as I would like to, so I had to go to the fastball a lot, and he was fouling it off and hitting it. Honestly, I kind of got a little lucky. He fouled a lot of pitches off today, and yeah, I was confident I could make up 2 runs. So.
All right, you go and face Adrian Yoder in the semis. You know, what's your thought process going into that one? You know, facing him, what do you got to do to come out of that one with a win?
I got to be patient at the plate, more patient than I was today, not chasing pitches and stuff, and the key to any 1v1 is who can land off speeds. If he's not landing off speeds, don't chase him and make him throw you a fastball. And those are cookies. So
any fastball is going to get hit past the baseline and pretty much going to be a single every day. So good words from Matthew Weaver. Going on to face Adrian in the semifinals. That's going to be a great matchup. So Montezuma out.